You know when you're scrolling through the news and it's just a bit all doom and gloom, one news story after another? I find myself thinking, gosh, is anything good happening out there? You may be feeling the same. So today we're going to look at some genuinely uplifting stories, positive news stories from the UK, stories that may make you smile and may restore some faith in humanity. And while we're at it, you're going to pick up some brilliant, emotional and inspirational vocabulary, English words, the type of language we use for talking about hope, courage, and positive change. Why does all of this matter for your English language learning? Well, when you listen to stories like these, abstract words like resilience, perseverance, dedication, uplifting, these are not just words, definitions in a textbook. Instead, they'll be linked to real human experiences, real achievements. So you'll remember these words better. Learning English language in context is the best way to do it. Let's get on with it. First news story. Have you ever driven past a dirty road sign that you cannot read easily? Especially in the wet winter in the UK, our road signs sometimes get a bit green, a bit dirty, and very hard to read. So this story is about a British man called Jake Tredgett from Norwich, who is an exterior cleaner. That means he owns a small business which specialises in cleaning the outsides of people's homes and offices and other buildings. It involves lots of water, hose pipes and big brushes. Anyway, Jake Tredgett noticed a sign in his local area which was hard to read, covered in green algae. ALGAE. He stopped at the side of the road and cleaned the sign, and he was amazed at the difference. He was so pleased he posted it on TikTok just to show people the difference. Jake Tredgett's TikTok post went viral, over 1 million views in no time at all. And soon Jake was inspired to clean more signs, all free of charge. On the way to his different customer jobs, Jake just stops at the side of the road whenever he sees a dirty sign and just uses his equipment to clean it. Jake said, "If it's safe to stop and I've got water on board, I'll do it. It only takes about 3 minutes." He said that he'd only set up his exterior cleaning company 2 years ago and that posting videos on TikTok was a really good way to market his company's services. And his company is even better known now. Beyond that, he said, it's just community spirit. He's doing it for the general good. And people in cars can again read the road signs and rely on them when they're driving. People have been tagging Jake's TikTok posts, saying, why aren't the councils doing this? In the UK, the council, COUNCIL, is the local government who should look after roads. People are saying surely it's their job. Jake said he wouldn't mind a contract so he can actually be paid for his work cleaning road signs. Understandable if you're a small business, but for the time being, he's continuing to do it for free. Jake has been featured in his local newspaper and in articles online and now in the Adept English podcast. Jake's next goal: restoring neglected playgrounds for children. What a nice man, and what community spirit. We could all do with a bit more of that, rather than complaining and saying it's not my problem. If this is your first time listening to Adept English, then welcome. We're all about helping you learn English naturally through interesting subjects. And if you're a regular listener, thank you for being here and supporting us. Don't forget, if you fancy more content like this, our subscription service offers 8 extra episodes a month. Audio episodes completely ad-free, all designed to give you that rich, authentic English practice. Go to adaptenglish.com to sign up. New story 2. This is a story about a 9-year-old girl called Layla Rasowski. When most children were looking forward to playing with friends and holidays in summer 2024, Layla Rasowski was preparing to do one of the toughest outdoor challenges in the UK, all for charity. In summer 2024, she walked the Pennine Way. That's Pennine. That's a mountain range in northern England. Layla walked the entire 268 miles of the Pennine Way from Derbyshire to the Scottish borders, all to raise money for one of the best children's hospitals in the world, Great Ormond Street in London. Layla said, "I love proving that children can take on big challenges too. And if I can do it while raising money for a great cause, that's even better." Before doing her Pennine Way walk, Layla had already completed another big UK outdoor challenge, the so-called 3 Peaks Challenge. That challenge involves climbing the highest mountain in Scotland, Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in Wales, Snowdon, and the highest mountain in England, which is Scafell Pike, all in just 24 hours. I don't know how people do that. And that's remarkable for a 9-year-old. Many adults would struggle to do this. And again, Layla raised money for charity by doing the 3 Peaks Challenge. Her Pennine Way walk was featured by Anglia TV and the Guardian newspaper, raising awareness of the great work done by Great Ormond Street Hospital and raising money for the hospital at the same time. I wonder what Layla's next challenge will be. It's quite remarkable, someone of 9 years old showing such dedication. Dedication means applying effort to something and sticking with it. Our third news story is one of courage and resilience. It's about a young man called Dimitro and his remarkable journey. Resilience, RESILIENCE, means the ability to bounce back from difficult situations, the ability to keep going, even when life throws enormous challenges your way. So Dimitro fled Ukraine with his family in 2022 when he was just 14 years old. Can you imagine? He was waking up to air raid sirens. That's the noise that sounds when you're about to be bombed. That's BOMBED. And the air raid sirens where he lived in Ukraine would sound every day. Dimitro and his family would spend cold nights in mouldy basements with rats, waiting for the all-clear signal to come, which sometimes took many hours. One day, suddenly, his stepfather, who himself had to stay and fight in Ukraine, put Dimitro, his mother, his 3-month-old sister and his grandma on a bus to Poland. Here Dimitro stayed for a short time with his auntie until he could get a visa to come to the UK. Subsequently, he moved to the UK and everything familiar was gone. New country, new language, completely new life. Dimitro commented about his new life in the UK. The atmosphere felt completely different. Everything looked different. Everyone was speaking English, and I couldn't understand anything. The left-hand side driving even gave me a headache. It felt unusual and even scary being in a new country. Dimitro adapted brilliantly. Adapted, ADAPTED, means that he adjusted successfully to his new situation. Dimitro learned English very quickly, firstly by reading boxes and packets in his local shop. But once he had a school place, he was immersed in the language. The best way to learn, of course. And Dimitro said that after 3 to 4 months, he started to be able to speak in English. Not only this, but Dimitro excelled in school, passing his exams, and he began to pursue his dream to be a firefighter. Dimitro secured work experience at a fire training centre. and then enrolled in a uniformed public services course. And with the help of Norfolk Fire and Rescue, who remembered Dimitro from his work experience, he even arrived at his school prom in a fire engine. The school prom is an American-style celebration with a big party for 16-year-olds who've just completed their last school exams, their GCSEs. What a moment that must have been for Dimitro. He said he wasn't a good student when he was in Ukraine before the war, but his experiences have given him direction. He's now motivated and clear what he wants to do in life. Dimitro passed all his GCSEs and is embracing British culture, saying that he particularly enjoys roast dinners and full English breakfasts. In a wrap, he added. That means in a tortilla. Not sure about that last bit, but good to hear he's enjoying British food. Now at 17 years old, Dimitro is working towards a future in the emergency services. The emergency services means the fire service, the ambulance service, or the police. And when Dimitro was asked why this sort of work attracts him, he shared a quote that really had stuck in his mind from back in Ukraine. Live one life to save thousands. Having survived the bombs in Ukraine, Dimitro is determined to do good in his life and save other people's lives in his new country. What a lovely sentiment and an example of making positive out of a negative experience. These stories are uplifting, meaning they make you feel hopeful and positive. They lift you up, in other words. In a world where the bad news can feel overwhelming, we need to remember that people are capable of extraordinary dedication and perseverance, which means continuing to work towards something despite difficulties. There's actually something else I wanted to quickly mention, because it connects beautifully to all of this. It was announced at the beginning of 2025 that more than 3,000 children aged 6 to 14 were surveyed by Oxford University Press to find their favourite word for 2024. What word did they choose? 61% of the children voted for the word kindness. Kindness makes the world go round. Having been to numerous funerals, that's the celebration at the end of someone's life, I notice that it's often the small acts of kindness that people are best remembered for. It's not their sporting achievements or their days in the office, their achievements at work. It's not how much money they made, but instead it's their small acts of kindness that they leave behind in people's memories. I think kindness is something we could all do with more of. Let us know what you think.